I took my youngest daughter and her friend to an advanced screening of Hoppers, and before I even tell you what I thought about the movie, I need to tell you what they thought, because that's what truly matters. My youngest gave it a 9.8, her friend gave it a full-on 10. They were locked in from the beginning, completely engaged, leaning forward, reacting to everything, laughing, whispering to each other, and my youngest has always wanted to see this movie ever since they saw the trailer. And you could tell she was having the best time watching it. So from a kid's perspective, this movie absolutely works. And honestly, that's the first thing I always look for when it comes to a family film. Are the kids in the theater invested? Are they having fun? Are they connected to the story? With Hoppers, the answer from them was a very loud yes. Now, as an adult, the experience with the movie was a little different. And this is where the film started to become really interesting to me. At first, I wasn't quite sure what I was going to feel about it. The animation style feels a little different from what I'm used to with Pixar. It has a different energy, it's faster and a little bit more chaotic. And once the movie really gets going, it turns into a pretty wild ride. But the movie actually starts in a much smaller place. We meet Mabel when she's a kid who loves animals so much that she literally tries to rescue them from her own school. She gets caught immediately, of course, and her mother ends up dropping her off at her grandmother's house. And the grandmother gives her this advice that really becomes the core idea of the whole movie. They go to their nature spot outside, they sit down and just listen and find that stillness, find that peace. Take in all that inner rage that you have and sit with it for a minute. That moment sets the tone for everything that follows, because as Mabel grows up, that passion for animals turns into activism. She's trying to protect this meadow that she and her grandmother shared, that place, and now it's going to be turned into a beltway. She's angry, she's frustrated, she wants to fight for something she loves, and that's when the movie introduces the big sci-fi idea. Her university develops a technology that lets someone transfer their consciousness into a robotic animal so they can interact with wildlife directly. It's basically an Avatar-style situation, and the movie even jokes about that comparison. So Mabel hijacks the experiment and puts herself into the body of a robotic beaver. And suddenly she can hear the animals. She can understand them. She can live among them. And this is where the movie really opens up. There's a beaver king who leads the animals in this pond community. There are pond rules. There's a kind of ecosystem society where all different animals coexist. And the movie leans into the idea that nature has its own balance. Animals eat each other. Conflict exists. But there are rules. There's cooperation. And there's a system. Then they discovered the mayor has been using a speaker creating a sound to relocate the animals. And then fear spreads, panic spreads, and the animals decide through Mabel's passionate activism that the solution is simple. Squish the mayor. That's the moment where the movie reveals what it's really about. Because up until then, Mabel thinks she's fighting for something good. She's protecting nature. She's protecting the animals. But suddenly she realizes the anger she helped ignite is starting to spiral into something else entirely. And the film asks a very simple question. What happens when caring turns into rage? What happens when activism loses empathy? That's the tension running through the whole story. The movie isn't saying don't care about things. It's not saying avoid conflict. What it's really saying is that when passion turns into hatred, when fear turns into violence, you've lost the thing you were fighting for in the first place. And I found that really interesting because while the kids are having a blast with the animals and the adventure and the chaos, the movie is actually having a conversation with the adults in the room. Kids today are surrounded by noise, social conflict, climate panic, online outrage, adults arguing about everything all the time. And this movie asks the adults watching it a question. How are we modeling the world for them? Are we teaching them passion with empathy? Are we teaching them outrage without restraint? That idea hit me harder than I expected, especially because of what happened with my daughter during the movie. There's a moment in the story where she thought something really bad was going to happen to one of her characters that she liked. And she cried. And not just a little emotional moment, she actually cried. And after the movie, she told me she didn't like that feeling. She didn't like how sad the movie made her feel. But then she explained why she felt that way. And that was the first time I'd ever heard her really talk about empathy for a character like that. And that's when I realized the movie had actually connected with her on a deeper level. Now, my daughter is a huge animal lover. Her dream is to help animals someday. She wants to be a veterinarian or an animal rescuer, so a story about protecting animals was always going to land harder for her. But the fact that the film made her feel something that strongly and then made her think about why she felt that is powerful. And that's what movies are supposed to do. The movie isn't telling anyone what to think politically. It's asking a much simpler question. How do you care about something so deeply without losing your humanity in the process? Now, aside from all of that, the movie is also just a lot of fun once it gets moving. The first act is a little slower because it's setting up a little emotional foundation, but once the story shifts into the animal world, it becomes a high-energy roller coaster. The comedy works, the action works, the kids in the theater were loving it. There are even a few moments that might be creepier for adults than kids. There are sequences with snakes and frogs that might hit certain adult feelers a little harder than, they will for younger viewers, but kids are going to think those moments are awesome. And honestly, that contrast is part of what makes the experience fun. And by the end of the movie, I wasn't really thinking about the animation or the technical side of things. I was thinking about my daughter sitting next to me. I was thinking about how she's growing up, how she's starting to understand empathy and responsibility, and the fact that that movie sparked that conversation between us. And for my daughter and her friend, Hoppers was an almost perfect movie experience. But for me, it was a reminder that movies can still make kids laugh, make them cry, and give parents something meaningful to talk about afterward. And when a movie can do all three of those things at the same time, that's something special. I appreciate you going on this film journey with me, and as always, be real.
Squish the humans!
Yeah! Wait, squish?
They squish us! Why shouldn't we squish one of them?